everyone. Welcome to Round the Horn. The gentleman playing bass guitar in the background with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts is our special guest today, Mr. Hal Selzer. Hello, Hal. How are you?
I'm great. Great to see you, Lee.
Yes, it's great to see you too as well. Welcome to Round the Horn. And it's kind of a play on words. In fact, we've had a couple of horn players that have appeared on our show, including Tommy LaBella, who everybody knows as one of the greatest sax players in the world. I also had Screamin' Steve, who had just recovered from his battle with COVID. So we've had some horn players, and even though it's kind of a baseball term as well for, a third base to second base to first base double play, kind of a double entendre, you might say. Well, it's great to have you on, and let's start off with a little bit of your musical background first.
Well, my musical education was really partially with you. It was playing with Bobby Bandiera at the Stone Pony. I think we used to do every Thursday or every Wednesday, something like that.
Right.
And great old times. It was like the Stone Pony was like my home club. It felt like being at home. And of course, with Bobby, Bruce would jump up on stage with us sometimes. And with Bobby, I ended up playing a lot of the Shore benefits with Bruce and Bon Jovi. And I actually became a juke for a little while, filling in on some shows, which is a blast because playing with the horns, like you just said, standing in front of those guys, there's nothing like it. And I played with Gary U.S. Bonds for many years and still consider Gary a great friend. And it was just an honor to be on stage with him.
Never ages.
That's right.
Never ages. It's amazing.
Right.
I mean, the guy looks like he's 50 and I think he just turned 80, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Still sings like a bird.
Yes, exactly. And his wife, it's amazing how young that she looks.
Right.
And
that's right.
She looks like she's 30 years old.
Yeah. And great people, just like
absolutely,
a family member.
Oh yeah, right.
When you play with them. And then I ended up playing in a Broadway show called Rock of Ages.
Right.
Which was a big thrill.
That was a great event. Yeah.
Yeah, and I never thought I'd end up doing something like that, being on Broadway. It was, it was rock songs from the 80s, but we dressed up in, like an 80s rock stars. Kind of, when I was playing with Bobby, I had an original band called Adrian Dawes, maybe you remember that, with the long hair and everything. So I got to relive those days. And I even did a little of the Rock of Ages tour. I was out on the road with them. And still occasionally the band from the show does corporate events or casinos. Broadway's Rock of Ages band doing songs from the show. And it's just a great group of musicians, including like Joel Hoekstra, who plays with TSO and Whitesnake, and Tommy Kessler from Blondie is in it.
Right.
And it's just the other bass player who actually got me in it is Winston Roy, who you might know.
Sure, right, from the Billy Hector band.
Right, and also played with Soul Asylum. Right. And so that's just a really great, fun band that still plays occasionally. And then once with Bobby, we were the house band for Little Steven's, one of his Little Kids Rock benefits in New York. And on that one, they were honoring Joan Jett. And after the gig, she talked to me a little, and the road manager asked if I might be interested in becoming a Blackheart.
Right, okay.
Which I did. And of course, he threw in that next year they were going to be touring with The Who. so
that down, right?
Yeah. So I ended up doing that. And again, such a great group of people. Joan and her manager, Kenny, and it's like a family. And I've been doing that ever since. And it's been a great experience.
Yeah, it's amazing how people can progress, and some things happen accidentally even that, you know, all of a sudden you get approached by somebody and it's like the biggest break that you've ever seen. Although you've had a lot of great
Yeah.
there. Well, let's get to talking baseball. Tell us about
Yeah.
your early experiences on the field.
Well, of course, Little League, and mainly as a catcher. And I grew up just outside of Trenton, a town called
Right.
Ewing.
Sure.
And, uh, loved baseball and played every day, whether organized or not, with our friends. We used to have also, besides playing Little League, me and my friends, we had a wiffle ball league.
Okay.
We kept statistics and standings, and wrote everything down.
It's a
And
great way to actually become a better hitter because you're always looking at something that's moving crazily across the plate.
that's right. Plus, we used to imitate the major leaguers. So whoever
Right.
had a unique batting stance, we would try to copy
Sure,
it.
yeah.
Which I guess helps in hitting too, because you
Joe
learn what
Morgan
works
kick
for you.
with the elbow.
That's right. That's right. And then I went on to Babe Ruth League, and actually in Ewing they had something called the Lou Gehrig League, which was a
Okay.
counterpart parts of the Babe Ruth League, and I guess that was 13 to 15, and I did pretty well. I made the All-Star team a couple of times.
Okay.
And, I don't think I was a great hitter. One year I hit 333. That's my big claim to fame.
Wow. Okay.
uh,
Good.
but I guess like a singles hitter, I was fast, so I relied on that.
Right.
And then I think the other guys, like when I got to high school, they all got progressed more than me. So
Right.
so I didn't pursue it after that, except recreationally, softball leagues and stuff.
Sure. Sure.
And believe it or not, we still, when I'm on the road, a few of us bring our gloves out.
Okay.
And you can find us after sound check throwing a ball around.
Right. Sure. Yeah. I remember playing with Bobby Bandier on his front lawn at his apartment in Brick.
We used to have these softball games that Bobby, I guess, was part of organizing.
Sure, yeah.
But some of the Jukes would play, and Bruce played a few times, and Bon Jovi would always play.
Right.
And just great fun. And some of the guys were really like Bobby, just kind of fooled around and just had a good time. And some guys like John took it very seriously.
Sure, yes.
He would turn around and say, "Okay, guys, one more out. We got to get him. Let's get this one."
I remember playing Bruce's team, the Stone Pony versus the E Street Band, and Bruce brought down his booking agent, Barry Bell, who was a fast pitcher. And all our guys had always played slow pitch, with 12-foot arc and everything.
Yeah.
So when this guy, Barry, came in, he said, everybody's wondering, who the heck is this guy? He's not in the band. And it turns out, of course, he's his booking agent, and these guys are just whiffing left and right.
He was a ringer.
Yes, exactly. And myself being with a baseball background, to me, it was nothing. And so the first time up, and I think I've told this story a couple of times, but I hit a double in the gap. And he's looking at me and it's like, who are you?
That's great.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was always fun times with those guys because we would bring the beer and they would bring the barbecue.
There was I'm sure there's the great softball pitcher, Eddie Feiner.
Saw him many times.
Major leaguers.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. In fact, there's some great posters out of the King in his court. I remember seeing him. It was amazing. He pitched from second base, and there were only 4 guys on the team, and he would still strike out everybody. And he'd throw blindfolded once. Such an amazing character, that's for sure. So, how about your favorite team?
Grew up a big Phillies fan.
Okay, South Jersey boy.
When I was a kid, it was those great teams with Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton and Larry Boa and Greg Luzinski. Yeah, and I rooted for the Yankees as my American League team, but my real love was the Phillies. Larry Boa was my favorite player.
Okay.
And then I got a little older, and then they had those great teams with Lenny Dykstra and John Kruk,
Oh yeah.
and they were good again then. And then even in recent years, I guess in 2008, won the World Series
Sure.
with Rollins and Utley. So they've been up and down, but I still follow them
Right.
religiously. And
Now they got a Yankee connection with Joe Girardi.
that's right. That's right. It still looks funny seeing him in red.
Yes, exactly right. Although he had been a Cub for a while, and then he was with the Marlins, wasn't he?
That's right. He was the manager of the Marlins for a while.
I'll tell you a funny story about John Kruk. You might have heard this, though. I was down in West Virginia in the minors for a year when the Stone Pony first closed, and he was the local hero because he was from West Virginia. He had that little southern drawl, which he kind of lost now. He talks more like a Philadelphian. But he's the funniest guy on broadcast for the Phillies.
Yeah.
But anyway, the story goes that there was a rookie female reporter that was in the locker room for the first time. So she walks up to John Kruk and she says something like, how do you keep in shape as an athlete? And of course, he didn't look like he was in shape ever.
Yeah.
And he says to her, ma'am, I ain't no athlete. I'm a ball player. So
Yeah.
that was the kind of the famous thing. So also,
These days it used to be you'd see ball players, they'd have a little paunch or
some of them still do. Yeah, some still do though.
But these days, a couple of years ago, I was at a Cubs game. I was on tour and they got us tickets and went to see the Cubs game, and we got to walk out on the field for batting practice.
Right.
And these guys were built and they were buff and big, and I couldn't believe it. I said, this doesn't look like the ball players I remember from my youth.
No.
These guys were you could tell they work out and
sure, yeah. Well, back in the day, there really wasn't any weightlifting. It was actually that was verbal, no weightlifting. In fact, as I was coming up in high school as a pitcher, they wouldn't allow you to do anything like push-ups or pull-ups or anything that would test your arm. The only thing you would do would be running and sit-ups. And that
really?
And that would be it for training.
Did they think that it took away from your dexterity or something if you were too muscle bound?
Yeah, probably the flexibility and the mobility. Just thought that if you were too muscular, you couldn't be actually flexible enough to throw a baseball. But that's untrue now. Although some people work out too much and then start to see the fruits of their labors are sort of winding up with hamstring pulls and things like that. So it's a little tough these days. You got to be careful about what you do. In fact, Nolan Ryan was the guy that actually introduced weightlifting for pitchers. It was all very small weights, 5-pound weights, to do the wrist curls and things like that in order to just build up those muscles. And he was one guy that I don't think he was ever on the disabled list for like shoulder injuries or anything like that.
Yeah.
And he threw harder than anybody else. Even at age 40, he was throwing 104 miles an hour.
Yeah. Doesn't it seem like players today seem to get more of those nagging like hamstrings and stuff than they used to?
Yeah. I think sometimes it's conditioning. It's sometimes fluids, on hot days and everything. If they're not drinking enough water or Gatorade, that, you wind up with hamstrings and pulls like that. Giancarlo Stanton is famous for that. He walks on the field and he pulls a hamstring.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Hal, we're running out of time, unfortunately, and we have really had a great time catching up and talking about baseball. We really appreciate you stopping by and spending some time with us. And good luck on the road in the future, and stay well and be safe.
Thanks, you too, Lee. Thanks for having me. I can talk baseball for hours.
Oh, absolutely. Take care, everyone. We'll see you all next week. Good night.